Picture it. Georgetown, Washington, D.C., March 2004. Like, you know how Sophia Petrillo, whenever she's getting ready to tell a story, she's always like, picture it, Sicily, 1958. That's my little homage to Miss Estelle Getty. It was indeed March 2004, Georgetown, Washington, D.C. Georgetown, it's like a suburban area outside of D.C. where a lot of people go to sort of shop. They're beautiful, like, restaurants. It's a really, really nice kind of upscale area. And I was there. It was a Saturday, first Saturday or second Saturday in March of that year. I was there with my boyfriend at the time. And we were shopping for spring clothes. We had stopped and had lunch at the Uno's Pizza, and we had drinks, and we just really spent a day together, because during that time we were living with one another and we had stopped sort of going out with each other. You know, when you sort of move in with the person you're with and you guys stop doing things outside the house. So we were trying to make a conscious effort to start spending, you know, time together like we had been prior to us moving in. And it was a beautiful day and we really had a good time. Came back home and it was probably around 7 or 8 o'clock that night. And I got a phone call from my friend Aaron. Aaron asked me if I wanted to go to Nations nightclub in DC with him and his husband at the time. And I agreed. I said, yeah, you know, because I had not been out for probably that entire year. My boyfriend was not a very clubby type of dude. He didn't like clubs, he didn't like crowds, he didn't like to be around a lot of guys. That just wasn't his scene. So we never really partied together, and I had not been out that entire year. So when Aaron, you know, hit me up and asked me if I wanted to go to Nations, I was like, absolutely, you know. So I didn't mention it. I didn't mention it to my boyfriend, as, you know, we both had taken off our clothes and we were kind of relaxing. I think he was in the living room on the computer. And I never mentioned it just because I kind of knew that he was going to object to it. I just figured that I would kind of get dressed and let him know that I was leaving and I would go. So as the night progressed and Aaron told me to be ready by 11:30, I started getting dressed. I started getting ready. My boyfriend asked me where I was going, and I told him. I said, you know, I'm going out. I'm going to the club with Aaron and his husband. And I said, you know, I haven't been out all year. I just want to go out and dance. And immediately, of course, he caught an attitude. And he was like, what do you mean you're going out? He's like, you know, I thought we were just going to spend time in a house together. And I said, well, I've been with you all day. Like, you know, we went shopping, we went to eat, we're home now. I was like, you know, I spent time with you all day. I just want to go out with my friends. And he asked me where I was going. I told him I was going to Nations, and he was pissed. Like, he was like really, really pissed. He asked me if he could come along, and I just said no. I was like, you know, when you go out, you don't dance, you know, you kind of stand up against a wall. And I was just like, I just want to spend time, just be with my friends. He couldn't understand that. He began to sort of just yell, and he went from being angry and upset to just kind of being really sad. And as I was getting dressed, and I was probably fully dressed at this time, coming out the bathroom, and he came to me with tears in his eyes, like literally, like crying. And he was just like, please, you know, don't leave, like, please stay. And I looked at him and I said, well, I've been with you all day, you know, I want to go out and I'm going to go. I guess as a last resort, as a last plea, when Aaron called my cell phone to tell me he was outside and I was walking out the door, my boyfriend said to me, you know, if you leave, I'm not going to be here when you get back. And me being at that time in my life very selfish, not really knowing or understanding how to be in a relationship, not really having a clear idea as to, you know, sacrificing, sometimes putting yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable to make your partner comfortable or to appease their wants at that moment, I still left and walked out that door. Went to Nations, and to be 100% honest, you know, it wasn't one of the best nights. Now, Nations is one of those clubs where it's one of those gay clubs that looks like Queer as Folk, you know, the ones you see on television with 2 and 3 levels, the smoke, the strobe lights. You know, as soon as the guys walk in, they take their shirts off, and they played a lot of like house music and a lot of like, you know, upbeat, transy type music. And so it was always a real good time for us. One that I always like enjoyed whenever I did get a chance to go. But this particular night, it was kind of drab. Like the regular DJ wasn't playing. The crowd, it wasn't really a lot of people there like normal. Like it wasn't packed. We used to stay till like 5, 6 in the morning. This particular night, we stayed to maybe like 3:30, and then decided like, you know, this is really a mess. And on the whole ride home, you know, I didn't, to be 100% honest, I don't really remember where my mind was, but I don't think I was in a space where I really thought or really felt that my boyfriend had left or moved out. But when we did pull up to the complex, his car wasn't there. My friends Aaron and his husband, they walked in with me, you know, and all of my boyfriend's stuff was gone. Like he had literally moved his clothes, his shoes, his computer, like all the big items literally were cleared out. And at first, for me, because I knew that we had gone through breakups, you know, before, I don't think I realized the magnitude of this one. And I kind of just told them, go ahead home, I was going to be okay. And waking up the next morning, I think is when it really hit me that I chose 3 to 4 hours of what was supposed to be fun over my, at that time, 3-year relationship. And it was an unhappy period. You know, it was really an unhappy period for me just because I was trying to graduate from college. I had 2 more months left to go. We were filming, I was filming my senior thesis project. I was having to focus on that, having to focus on editing, having to focus on kind of just, you know, getting myself prepared for graduation. And my main support outside of my family structure now wasn't there. So that was tough, you know. And I remember my senior thesis film professor, Paula, young, white, liberal woman. She loved me to death. I loved her. And, you know, she pulled me aside one day in April. And she said, you know, Zim, I don't know what's going on. She said, but this is not you. She's like, you know, I know you're trying to graduate. I love you, but I will fail you. And she's like, you know, you're missing deadlines. And I finally just opened up and told her what was going on with me. And I told her that my relationship had fallen off. My boyfriend had moved out. You know, I was late to class a lot because he was the one that usually dropped me off and picked me back up. And it just was a mess. It was really a mess. And I remember that's when she gave me Jenny Livingston's Paris is Burning, and also Marlon Riggs's Tongues Untied. And she told me to watch both of those films to kind of, you know, get my mind off of what I was going through, but to also keep me inspired, and to sort of reignite my passion that she felt I had been displaying all semester long. And I got into those projects. You know, I ended up finishing my film thesis. I ended up graduating in May. Brandy released her Aphrodisiac album that summer, June 2004. And I used to blast that first song, Who I Am. Thank you for all the tears, all the stress, you're the best. Yeah, I used to kind of just, you know, make myself, or at least try to convince myself that I was the victim. That I had been victimized, that, you know, the fault was his, not mine. And it really just got to a point where life showed me that I didn't know how to be in a relationship, that I didn't understand the importance and significance of sacrificing and compromising for the sake of maintaining and sustaining a romantic relationship. I chose in that moment of walking out the door that night, I was very hard-headed. You know, I was my ego, I was the type of person like, you know, I'm grown, I'm a man, nobody tells me what to do, blah, blah, blah. And I share that story with you, especially to suggest to my young ones, you know, as the summertime is approaching and as you all getting ready to, you know, deal with a lot of the pool parties and rooftop events and prides and other things that are going to be going on and that are going to be advertised, If you are in a relationship with someone who truly loves you, truly cares for you, sacrifices for you, helps you when your back is up against a wall, by all means, treasure that and value it. Because the majority of the people, especially the single people, who you see out and about every single weekend, every chance they get at these events, believe me when I tell you, many of them get dressed up with just the hope that this will be the particular night or particular day or particular event where someone does try to talk to them or does ask them for their number. Like, regardless of what people say, regardless of, how individuals try so hard to convince themselves in the world that they're so happy. Oh, I'm so glad to be single. I mean, some people really are. But what you have at home, what you have behind closed doors is what many others are chasing, what many others are praying for. We all want to be with someone who genuinely loves and values who we are spiritually, who we are mentally, truly protects us emotionally, champions our journey. And there is nothing that you are going to find at these rooftop parties, at these pride events, inside of these clubs, the stuff that's advertised on these flyers that you receive in your Facebook invite inboxes, or the little crap that's left on your car windows. There's nothing you're going to find inside of these events that's going to match or outweigh what it is that you've already established behind closed doors. We've really got to learn, those of us or those of you who are in relationships or looking for them, we've got to stop existing in relationships and putting ourselves in situations for the pictures, for just that opportunity to promote the surface of our relationship on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, for the likes, for the cutesy comments from strangers like, oh, you guys are so cute. Like, that's the celebratory part. The tough aspect is really behind closed doors, when your man is asking you to stop doing certain things because he's uncomfortable, or to start doing things to help contribute more to the relationship. You actually taking that time to sit back and analyze what he's saying and accept what it is that he's trying to tell you, because he's fighting for the relationship in that moment. When he comes to you genuinely and looks you in your eyes and he's asking you to stop doing certain things, stop associating with certain people, start contributing more, that's him fighting for the relationship. And if you truly love him and care for him in that way, then you will make those ultimate sacrifices, because after all, that's what relationships really are about. Our generation is so wrapped up in every single time there's a problem, every single time, we face a wall, we hit that concrete. It's like, let me just go on. I'm not going to deal with this. I don't have to. It doesn't matter how cute you are, people. It doesn't matter how physically attractive you are, how nice your body may be, how much charisma you think you have. You're not going to go out into the world, especially as it starts getting warm outside, and think that inside of these clubs and these venues and events that you're going to find someone who's going to love you, cherish you, and sacrifice for you the way the man or woman in your life already is doing. That type of love doesn't just come every month, every year. It's hard. Regardless, it's hard to find it. So if you have it, cherish it, value it, and don't let the heat rising this summer, this spring, force you into situations where you're thinking the grass is greener on the other side, because everything looks so glossy and so pretty on these flyers. But what you have behind closed doors is far more valuable. And if you don't honor it and take care of it, believe me when I tell you, there are thousands of single, lonely men and women out here who will, without a shadow of a doubt, be willing to take your place. So I didn't have anyone to say this to me 10 years ago, back in March 2004, but I am saying it to you. Remember it when your back is up against the wall, or you're feeling like, oh, he's so boring, he's so dry, he's so possessive, he's so controlling. Value what you have, because many of us, myself included, that is what we are every day hoping for, praying for, and wanting in our own lives. I am VanAdams, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here in this moment. I'm conquering grilled. One word at a time.